Today, some tips for keeping your sensor clean as well as getting it clean once it's a little bit dirty, particularly for those with the latest cameras with sensor shields like Nikon Z8, Z9, some of the new cameras from Sony. Plus, I'll show you what's in my bag for my trip to the Scottish Highlands. All right, everybody, Hudson here. Welcome to this week's video. So while you're watching this, I'm actually out having fun in the Scottish Highlands, dialing in some last minute details for next year's workshop there, as well as meeting with the Naivo guys to check out some new stuff that they've been working on and I've been helping kind of prototype for them. So we're all having a really good time. I'll show you at the end of this video what I've chosen to make it into my bag for that trip. But in the meantime, I'm going to start off with some tips and tricks for keeping your sensor clean. And this is something that I think a lot of people could use a little refresher on. It's one of the things I notice in the workshops. We go through and we start doing image reviews and I start noticing, whoa, we need to clean your sensor off, Gary or Jim or Sarah or whoever it is that I'm looking at images. And often it just needs a quick blowout. So I'm going to kind of drill down some ways to minimize the need to keep your sensor clean. And this is particularly important for those of you who don't have a sensor shield. Some of the new cameras, Sony's brand new A7R, the Z8, the Z9, all have these sensor shields where, if the camera's turned off and you pull the lens, you're actually, I'm going to throw on this GoPro so you can see some close-up stuff. You're actually just looking at a thing in the Nikon. It just looks like a shutter. It's not even a mechanical shutter. I think some of the other cameras use their mechanical shutter, keep it closed in front of the sensor so that dust can't get in there. And, if you're working with a camera that doesn't have that, the minute you open it up, boom, the sensor's there exposed to dust. And if you're holding your camera like this or setting it down on the table, or changing it in a dusty environment and not being really careful, you're likely to get specks of dust landing on the sensor every time you have that thing open. So, my tip for when you're gonna change lenses is get the second lens that you have ready to go on the camera, take the butt cap off of it, have it sitting there, pull your lens off that you're gonna change, keep the camera upside down, pick up the lens you're gonna put on, carefully line up that dot, put it back on, then put the butt cap on your other lens. Keep the camera upside down so that any dust that's falling down is settling on the back of your camera and not on the sensor. And that's even true if you have a sensor shield like this Nikon Z9 or the Nikon Z8. Now another real key for me to keeping your sensor clean is making sure that you blow it off at the end of the day. Blowing it off gets that dust off there as soon as it settles. And it can be done with a simple rocket blower. I've got links to that. I have a whole link to cleaning equipment and supplies. I'm going to put a link to that actually right here. You can click up to hit it. But also in my video's full description, if you click the title or show more, you'll see links to all the gear that I use and approve and recommend to people. Those links help me out, so I appreciate your using them. But I'm going to link the cleaning gear section of my website. And all the stuff I'm talking about is right there. So, with a little $10 rocket blower, which I always have in my camera bag, it goes on trips with me every time. When I'm at the end of the day, I shut my camera off, and if it's a camera without a sensor shield, it's as easy as just picking the camera up, holding it upside down, and blowing the sensor off. If you got a sensor shield, it's a good idea to take the lens off, blow it off, cap it. All I have is a lens cap, but that'll keep dust off of it. Blow off that sensor shield, and then we're going to open up you could open up the camera and blow off the sensor with a sensor cleaning. Now, some people are uncomfortable with that. I haven't had any problems. If you're uncomfortable having the camera turned on, turn it on while you've got a lens on it. And if you've programmed your Z8 or Z9, according to my settings, it's as simple as going in to your My menu, which while you're in the shooting mode, you press F4, it takes you to the top of the My menu. Well, I put at the very end, sensor shield behavior at power off. If you don't have my settings, you can go into the menu. If you're working with a Sony or another camera, you can go into your menu and find this function. You want to go in, it's in the setup menu on Nikon, And it's about midway down. As you scroll down, you're gonna see sensor shield at power off. And you might as well go in, there's clean image sensor right below that. I like to have automatic cleaning turned on so that it cleans at power down. Every time you turn off the camera, it shakes the sensor to get dust off of it. But also, you could turn this sensor shield stays open. That's the sensor shield's behavior at power off. Sensor shield stays open. You want to turn that on for a second. Now when you turn off the camera and you open up the lens, you're going to see not the shield, but the sensor. All right, we're going to keep that upside down like we've talked about. And you know, it's simple. You just go in there, blow off every section of that sensor, and then go ahead. Where's my dot? There it is. Put your lens back on. Boom. Then you would turn back on that sensor shield behavior. Now, if you do that and you're still seeing dust specks, you're maybe going to need to do a wet cleaning. You're maybe going to need to just go in there and look really carefully. You know, I put my reading glasses on. I've still got that sensor shield set so that I can see it. You know, it's open at power down. And have a look with a sensor dust loupe. This is a little portable one. I have it linked in my cleaning supplies. And I'm looking through here and I don't see any dust. Oh, well, there's a speck. There's a speck over on the left side. So that tells me, you know, focus my rocket blower right where I saw that dust speck. Go back in, have a look. It's gone now. There you go. So that's one way. You know, I'm gonna refrain from showing you the whole wet cleaning process. I have a course that's really affordable and it goes into a lot of gear maintenance, how to keep your tripod working even if you're out in saltwater conditions with it, getting it wet. It also covers wet cleaning your sensor. It's a short course. I'm going to link that. You can click right up here or again in this video's full description. But I'll also show you a cool new tool that VSGO sent me. And it's a little bit extravagant and I thought, wow, you know, does anybody really need this thing? But then in the last 2 workshops that I ran, there were a whole bunch of sensors that significantly needed cleaning. They had a lot of dirt. I tried blowing them off with the rocket blower to no effect, or only to marginal effect. And I employed this thing. It's 2 pieces. One is a USB-C battery, and it's got a little built-in light on it, which, you know, I don't know the real utility of. One, it has 2 buttons on the bottom. You hold down, one of them turns on the blower and switches power modes. There's a 3-light system. 3 lights is full power. That's where I use it. There's also a second button that turns on a little light. That's supposed to help you check whether there's dust on your sensor. I would definitely get this little $9 sensor checking light. That's far better. It has a magnifying glass, really lets you see what you're doing. But if you take this battery and you plug it into this head, what you've got is this really insanely powered blower with a little screen, a replaceable screen in the back. It's a filter that keeps any small particles from getting in. And this thing puts out a lot of power. So, you know, during the workshop, I would take people's lenses off, blow out the butt of the lens, blow out that sensor assembly, and check it again with my loupe. And lo and behold, you know, typically I go through 10 or 15 of these sensor swabs in a workshop. You know, sometimes I have to use a couple of swabs on a person's really dirty sensor. I didn't use a single swab. This thing blew out the dust off those sensors. So, you know, VSGO, they're kind of making it not so necessary to buy the VSGO sensors and sensor cleaning fluid that I typically use. You know, it's a good thing it's the same company because they're kind of putting themselves out of business with this thing. Now, it's extravagant. Like I said, I think this thing retails for nearly $100. They gave me a 25% off code for people buying it at Amazon, and I'll put that with a link to this in this video's description. You know, this isn't probably something I'm going to take in the field. I'll still take my rocket blower, but I'm certainly taking it on workshops because it saved me having to wet clean a whole bunch of sensors. So this thing really does put out some power, and I like that it has that filter screen in it. But then, you know, if you've got a sensor shield, remember, you need to go back in and you need to take your sensor shield behavior back to closes when powered off. Then, when you turn your camera off and pull your lens, your shield is sitting there in place, making sure to keep dust off your sensor. So, I had a couple of people tell me, well, they thought the way to clean their sensor was to just leave the camera turned on and clean the sensor. And I just want to give a major warning about no, 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 no. That's not the way to go, because when you have the camera turned on, you know, whether, I haven't found that to ever damage my sensor, just having it open. But if you go messing around the sensor, especially swabbing it or using a sensor stick on it, its vibration reduction, its in-body image stabilization is turned on and active. That sensor's floating there on its vibration reduction technology. That little gyro is active on the sensor, and you could damage that. So, you know, when you turn the camera off, that locks out the in-body image stabilization. With most cameras, certainly with the Nikon and Sonys and Canons, it locks that sensor in place so that it's easy to clean. That's the cleaning position, but you have to just tell it in the menu, keep that sensor shield open at power off, just for the moment that you want to clean it or blow it out. So at the end of the day, that's why I keep it in my menu. Set it so that the sensor shield stays open at power down. Blow it out with your rocket blower, or if you're feeling extravagant, get yourself this little VSGO guy. Again, I got a 25% off coupon for that if anybody's, you know, interested in getting this crazy, super powerful technology. Blow it out at the end of the day. You know, check it with your sensor loop. Have a look close up. Check and see if it looks like it's got any dust still on there. Blow it off really intensely in the spot where you still see dust. If you still have dust at that point, that's when you want to go with a wet clean. And I swear, the more often you do this blow off, whether it's with the rocket blower or whether it's with the crazy little super blower, the less you're going to need to do wet cleanings. It's a maintenance thing. So, all right, I hope that helps a few people out. As I promised, we'll talk a little bit about what I'm taking with me, have taken with me in Scotland. While you're watching this, I'm there in the Scottish Highlands in the Isle of Skye. Well, obviously, I'm taking my standard Nikon kit, and I'm taking the Z9, my 14 to 24, 24 to 120, 100 to 400, the 112 millimeter adapters for my 24 to 120, and the 100 to 400, the 77 to 112 millimeter filter adapters, and a full set of case filters for neutral density, UV, and polarizing. I'm taking my Q2 with me. That'll all be in my Naya Evo 60C bag, carried with me on the plane, and that all fits in my medium removable camera insert. Then in the top compartment of that, I'm gonna have my brand new DJI Air 3, which is my favorite drone I've ever had. Look for a movie or a video coming up pretty soon about that. I have just been enamored with this drone. I liked the Air 2S a lot. The Air 3 is sort of everything that I personally wanted in a drone. I love its longer lens and sensor, its wide lens. I love just the battery life, the ease of use of its new built-in remote control, and just how quick you can be off flying and how long you can fly with it. It's great. So I'll be carrying that. The Q3, for sure, the Leica Q3 goes in the bag with my Nikon. And just a little heads up for those people who are curious about the Q3, people have asked me, my good friend Chap did get a friend of his who was a NASA engineer with an amazing shop to mill Really Right Stuff's old Q2 L bracket with the QD port to fit my Q3, so it fits like a glove. The only real at all bummer about it is I can't quite open the memory slot door just because of a couple changes, so I do have to take the L bracket off to get the card out, but the battery pops out no problem, which is kind of all I need in the field. It's pretty simple to unscrew the screw at the end of the day to get the card out. I am really stoked to have the L bracket and the QD port back with the beautiful, thick, nice, easy to hold grip for the Q3. So that'll be going with me in my Naya Evo 60C. I'll have some good layers and rain gear, some good waterproof hiking boots. And I can't wait to share some images from that with you. Now, a heads up, we're going to be really intensively busy during November, Rick, Woody, David, and I, but we're doing office hours on December 5th, a big free photography group get-together Tuesday, December 5th, 10 a.m. Pacific. You can sign up right here or hit the link in the video's full description. And we're going to be looking at your best images from 2023. So if you can go over to that website, you'll see the rules and setup for the gallery. We'll be posting the gallery in the lead up to that December 5th date so you can take a look at it. And we'll be picking some of our favorite images from all of you to give some prizes out to. So, you know, think about your favorite image or go make your favorite image of 2023 and upload that for us, one per person. The details are all on the site. Leave us a question if you want. We'll probably be taking most of the time with those office hours looking at all of your best images, though. These are some of my favorite get-togethers, just looking through other people's eyes. So I hope you'll join us for that. Again, links to everything I've been talking about, they're in this video's description. Thanks so much for watching, for sharing, for subscribing, for supporting this channel. It means the world. And you know, I hope that like me, you're out there having some fun, being creative, staying safe. We'll see you next week.